Okay, now we're recording. All right, let's take a look at quiz number 2, some of the results. Again, as I said earlier, make sure you check your grade average in Blackboard, making sure you understand what's going on there. Does it make sense? Does what you're doing, what you think you're doing in class is matching what I'm showing how you're doing in class? So please take advantage of that and take a look at that this week. All right, quiz number 2 was basically 20 points for 5 questions, answering a variety of different things from chapters 7 and 8. Almost all of it, except for the portfolio, was in your textbook, and we have mentioned some of this during the course of the class, so I wanted you to give me some feedback. For example, the solutions of the quiz and and my example of the portfolio are in the Blackboard quiz number 2 file folder. So quiz number 2, question number 1 was asking you to tell me the difference in a 5.5, 120,000 30-year mortgage in monthly payment to a 6.5% increase in the monthly payment. Now, the calculation I used was from page 230 of the textbook, where they give you the monthly payment or the amount of a payment on a loan at a variety of different interest rates for a variety of different years. And all you had to do in that one was find the rate or the dollar amount for per $1,000 of loan for 5.5%, which happens to be 5.68%, and for 6.5%, which happens to be $5.68, and for 6.5%, $6.32. Determine the monthly payment by taking that times 120, which is per $1,000 of a loan, and you get a difference of $76.80. Now, many of you calculated this by some calculation like a mortgage calculator. Some of you use a calculation like present value payment. That is fine, and you were a little bit different off from mine, and I gave you credit for that. If you were way off on that, a couple bucks off, a couple of dollars off, maybe you got 1 or 2 points taken away. But I was looking for something like around $76.80, $77 and change is good, $76 and low amount of change is good, but that's what I was looking for. Question number 2, talk about the 2 advantages of renting. And the advantages are mobility, fewer responsibilities, naturally, if you don't own the property. You do not need to usually concern yourself with maintenance and repairs of the facilities. Yes, you have to keep your apartment clean, but you don't have to worry about the maintenance and repairs. And it's usually less expensive to take possession. Usually with a rental, you have to pay first and last month rent on the rental. But when you buy a house, naturally you have to pay real estate fees, closing costs, all different types of, you have to pay in advance the property taxes, a lot more expensive to take possession of a home. The disadvantages of the main part of renting, the advantages, naturally it's easier, more simple. And so I was looking for 2 advantages for renting. There's a variety of different ones there in the answer. Question number 3, I was looking at 2 main types of risk that are related to your home and your vehicle. Risks that we insure through insurance. What are the main types of risk that we have to insure? And this is pretty simple. The main risks are risk of damage to or loss of your property, and your responsibility for injuries to other people on the damage that you caused by this accident. So naturally the risk is mainly property risk and injury risk. Those are the 2 main risks I was looking for in that answer. Question number 4 was, which we talked about in class, discuss what 100, 350 means. 100 means 100,000, the maximum amount the insurance company will pay for injuries to any one person. 300 equals 300,000 to multiple injuries, multiple parties, and 50 means 50,000, the maximum amount will pay for damage to property. California requirement is 15, 30, and 5. Everybody got this one. Good job. And then question number 4 is, give me an update of your portfolio, and this got rather ugly, through Friday, April 3rd. How has your portfolio changed since we first set it up way back on Valentine's Day? How has it changed? Well, let's take a look at how Professor Hassey's has changed and what I was looking for in the setup of your spreadsheet that you posted. Let's take a look at that. Here's my portfolio. As you can see, I've lost $31,000 for the time from February 14th to April 3rd. 31% of my portfolio has dropped. Ouch. Looks like I can't retire in a couple of years. And as you can see, the prices of Exxon, Home Depot, 3M, and Wells Fargo changed. Those prices are multiplied times the original shares that I purchased on February 14th, and I get my new value of my portfolio. One of the things some of us forgot to do is give me a total of your portfolio. Just don't show me these numbers. What does it total to? That's an important bit of information. And then the percentage change is taking the delta between the beginning balance and the ending and dividing that delta by the beginning balance of $100,000. I get the 31% drop. How did Professor Hassey do to the market? Well, worse. The market beat me. I took the Dow Jones Industrial Index of April 3rd, S&P 500, and the NASDAQ index of April 3rd, subtracted the difference between the original index value on February 14th. I got the index amount. I divide that index amount into the original value. The Dow dropped 28%, S&P 500 dropped 26%, and the NASDAQ dropped around 24% in that time period. So if somebody came up to me and said, Professor Hassey, are you the Wolf of Wall Street? I don't think so. I am not the Wolf of Wall Street. I lost considerably more than what the market did. Now, the reason for that, naturally, is I concentrated on 4 companies where these indexes are spreading the risk out of investment over 30, 500, and 2,500 companies. So the risk is spread. If one company does lousy, maybe another company didn't do as lousy, and that's why their loss is a little bit less than mine. I concentrated on 4 specific stocks, and as you can see, I really got nailed on ExxonMobil and Wells Fargo, 2 companies that, as a result of the coronavirus sell-off of the markets, were really effective, naturally, because oil prices are so low and going down. And Wells Fargo is part of financial institutions, and Wells Fargo, to be perfectly honest with you, I hope I don't offend anybody about this, is run by a bunch of morons. And because of that, the market knows about that. And they know, so that naturally that stock got hit very hard by the sell-off over the last few weeks by the virus and the change in the economy. Home Depot and 3M did lose, but Home Depot got hit pretty well because a lot of people are not going to spend any money on their house until they know they're going to keep working. But again, that's the way the market works. And I put all my eggs in 4 baskets, and I got hit. Now, on other times during the course of the year, in the past, I've done very well in these companies. But these companies got especially hit, and that's how you have to take a look at your portfolio. What I anticipated a good, strong economy in picking these stocks. I did not expect the coronavirus to hit our economy so dramatically, and naturally, you're affected about it. How you selected your companies gives you a perspective by comparing it to the market indexes. You'll be doing this again next week in your examination number 2. Next Wednesday, you'll have a question on your portfolio performance and maybe an additional question that I will give you. So that's what the portfolio should look like. Naturally, we have totals of the columns, we have the percentage differences, and make sure that we get the correct amounts of these markets and our stocks to determine this selection. So that is our portfolio question from quiz number 2. Put all those together, and you can determine what your grade was. I returned your files. If you got 100, I didn't return your files for you because there's nothing to correct. But at the same time, remember, let me get this up here, excuse me. Remember, you should check your balance in your Blackboard account to make sure you understand where you stand grade-wise, and I'll show you where that is. Here's the front page of your Blackboard file folder, and on the front page is the report card. You should go to that report card section and see what your grade average is through this point of the course. Roughly speaking, we've gotten about half the grade so far in our course. We're about at close to the 50% mark. We still have another half of our grade to do, which is a combination of your writing assignment, 2 more exams. So we got still a long ways to go, but you now have an idea where you stand in our class. Okay, now we're update with all the administrative tasks. If you come on late, I talked a little bit about the email that was sent to you all this weekend to do an evaluation of the course at this point in time. We've talked about the quiz number 2 performance, and now we're going to talk about chapter 10. And before we do that, I'm going to take a look at a quick video from chapter 10, which talks about insurance. Now, again, we're taking a look at insurance naturally in the form of risk to protect ourselves, but also insurance as a form of an investment, and as a form of investment to give you a payback over time as you put in your premiums for insurance. Remember, there's 2 basic types of life insurance. One type is called term insurance, which is not an investment. It's just paying for a specific amount of coverage over a specific amount of time. Secondly, there's whole life insurance. Whole life insurance is an investment where you get, and that money is invested, your premiums are invested, and you can get a return off that investment over time, and even up an annuity payment at a certain age. You can draw on your insurance policy plan of the money you've invested and earned and use that as a source of income in retirement. A lot of people do that, including Mr. Hassey. So that's something that you also should consider, because insurance is cheap for you now. You get into a whole life policy where you're making an investment. It's a lot cheaper than getting a whole life policy when you're 60 years old. That's very expensive. So that's the point of this. And so let's take a little look at a video that explains this that was produced by the publishers of our textbook. So let me get that fired up here.
Life insurance is a contract. The insurance company promises to pay a lump sum at the time of the policyholder's death, or sometimes while they are still alive, in exchange for payment of premiums. When starting a new job, there are many benefits that your employer may offer you. The basics will typically include health insurance, dental insurance, and vision insurance. In addition, many employers will offer a small group life insurance policy with a payout of maybe $10,000 for a minimal premium. They may also offer the opportunity to purchase additional coverage at slightly higher rates. The question may arise, do I need life insurance? Or you head home from the hospital with your newborn baby. The sleepless nights begin, along with a seemingly never-ending cycle of bottles and diapers. Soon after, you start receiving mail asking if you want to purchase life insurance for you or your newborn baby. The question arises once again, do we need life insurance? What we will attempt to answer in this video is, when do you need life insurance? What is the purpose of life insurance? In most cases, you're trying to do one or more of the following tasks. 1. Protect someone from a financial loss related to your death. 2. To leave funds as part of your estate. 3. To save money for retirement, for additional income, or education for children. 4. To pay off debts at the time of death. These factors can help us answer the question, do I need life insurance? If none of these factors apply to your current financial situation, there's a very good chance that you do not need life insurance. Do most college students need life insurance? Typically, no. There's no estate, presumably no dependents, and you have very few debts that are joint. When do you start needing life insurance? When you have dependents, or when you have joint debts with someone else, such as a mortgage. Oftentimes, you stop needing life insurance after the above issues disappear, or you have other resources or investments to rely upon. Here's a chart that shows the typical insurance need based upon life stage. Notice that life insurance is initially not needed and then steadily ramps up before declining again towards retirement. There are a few big assumptions with this diagram. First, that the person has other investments and other resources that can make up the difference. Second, that there are no extenuating circumstances, such as disabled children, that may require financial resources even though you are retired. Assume you decide that you need life insurance. You should definitely shop around. The insurance companies use many of the same tools, such as mortality tables. They help the insurance company estimate based on statistical tables what your odds are of dying, based upon such factors as age, gender, race, and even lifestyle choices such as weight, alcohol, and tobacco use. The insurance company will quote you a premium based upon these characteristics. This is where it's important to shop around. Different insurance companies may provide significantly different quotes. Keep in mind, cheaper isn't always better. Since you want to make sure the money is available for your beneficiaries far into the future, you need a stable company that will be around many years into the future.
Okay, that's the basics of insurance, and I'm sure a lot of you know about that. But at the same time, I'm sure a lot of you don't know about that insurance can be a form of investment. It can be a form of paying back and getting return back over time on that investment when you could use some return on that investment. One of the things about term insurance is it's very cheap, but it's gone. Once you spend money on term insurance, you get life insurance should you die and your beneficiaries. But at the same time, that money that you spend on that insurance is gone. It's like an expense. Whereas if you buy a whole life insurance policy and as an investment, you get that money back over time where the insurance company takes your premiums and invests it in assets. Insurance companies are one of the largest investors in the world, in the economy. Insurance companies invest in plants, invest in equipment, invest in companies, own companies. So insurance companies use that money from your premiums, invest it, and give you a share or a piece of the action over time. And you can draw on that and also use that as a future source of equity in any other investments like housing. A lot of times people draw on their insurance policies as a part of a down payment on a house. You can take these advantages from this type of insurance policy. So let's take a look at some of the key factors of Chapter 10 that we need to be aware of going forward into our study this week. Some of the key points that you need to be concerned yourself, and we're going to take a look at some of these points in problems on Wednesday on page 341 of your textbook, more specifically problems 1 and 2. Is can you define what life insurance is and determine your life insurance needs? I think one of the biggest questions I get from a lot of people about insurance, and I do get some questions like that all the time, is Mr. Hassey, how much insurance should I have? How much is my life worth? All right. Well, the first step in determining how much insurance you should have is, first of all, if you die, what needs to be paid? Number one, if you have a mortgage, if you have a car loan, if you have credit card balances, naturally, if should you die, your beneficiaries or your family should not be have to cover those costs. Your insurance policy should cover the debt of that. So if you, first of all, you total up your debts. Second of all, if you decide to die, if you die, you also going to give up that income to your family. What was your pay at the time of your death? And how's the family going to miss out on that pay? Now, if you have a working spouse or a working partner, that's at less. But at the same time, if you do not have a working spouse or a partner, they're going to give up. They're going to lose that income that you provide. So how much is that income worth for the rest of your life? All right. So if you're 30 years old, you get insurance and you're making $50,000 a year, you die, you're giving up $50,000 a year probably to your age of 65. That's quite a lot of money. So two things have to be concerned in defining how much insurance you need is what is your debt situation that needs to be paid off if you die, and what loss of income will that insurance make up for should you die? And that leads us into the second part of the Chapter 10 is distinguish between the types of life insurance companies and analyze various types of life insurance companies and policies that companies issue. Again, this goes back to the term and the whole life. It goes back from investment vehicles to just providing insurance for you, but also about the quality of the insurance company. I think one of the biggest ads you see on television at certain sporting events, at certain things, is insurance. Not only car and life, but also life insurance. Are you properly covered? Julio asked a question about 3 to 5 times your income to get insurance. That's not a bad way of doing it, Julio, but if you read the chapter 10, and we're going to look at this on Wednesday, and a problem is there's certain formulas that you can use to determine how much insurance you should be able to get. And we'll take a look at those in some of our problems and discussions on Wednesday. In other words, you take the amount of your income multiplied by a certain amount, take a certain percentage of that. There's a lot of different ways of doing that, and we'll talk about that on Wednesday. And also there's, as I was saying before the question, there's also a lot of companies out there that sell insurance. You have, you see Geico, Allstate, uh, Prudential, all different types of companies, and they advertise a lot, especially if you ever watch sporting events or events where there's a lot of people watching who are either elderly or getting in the middle ages or starting families. They sell a lot of insurance to those groups, and that's why they advertise. So you have to understand what type of companies are out there and how good they are. And mainly you go through an insurance broker. All right. Many times you go like here, somebody's got their mic on and they're making a lot of racket. Make sure your mics are muted, please. Thank you. Sounds like you're in the bathroom. Better take care of that. All right, but besides that, you go through an insurance broker. Here in Claremont, right in the village, we have about 3 insurance brokers that their offices, you walk in there and you say, hey, I'm interested in life insurance. What can you tell me? And they'll explain the process of that. So in some respects, you want to build up somebody that you trust to give you the information about companies. Naturally, when you use an insurance broker, it's just like buying a car, buying real estate. They'll take a commission off your premiums that you paid the insurance company. But those insurance brokers many times will help you with answers that you don't know about insurance. Julio asked a question about getting life insurance with accidental death and dismemberment. Very cheap, but is it worth it? Again, it depends, Julio, on the type of life you lead. If you are a bookkeeper and making your income off doing accounting and number crunching all day, I would think the chances of you of getting accidental death and dismemberment are rather low. But if you're in a high risk area, a high risk job, a high risk profession, you might want to consider something along those lines as adding to the type of life insurance you get due to the nature of your career, due to the nature of your work. That makes a big difference in determining the type of policy you get. Example, set the third selection here of key objectives of Chapter 10. Select important provisions in life insurance contracts and create a plan to buy life insurance. When I was 25 years old, I decided to start getting insurance. And when I was 25, I had the choice of getting term or whole life. I invested in a whole life policy knowing it was an investment. The premiums were a little bit more higher for my age, but at the same time, I knew those monies were being invested. At the same time, I also got a term insurance policy on my life to maximize the amount of coverage I get should I die. For example, the term insurance policy was having my life worth $500,000. My whole life policy was only based on $250,000. That's all I could afford of the monthly premiums for that policy, but the 500,000 term was even cheaper than the whole life policy. So you have to determine what you can afford. Naturally, when you're 25, you maybe not be able to afford that lot of insurance, so you get a term policy, something that gives you maximum value of your life at a cheaper plan. But then when you turn 35, 40, 45, when you have family, children, responsibilities, maybe you own a business, What happens if you own a business and you die? Who's going to take care of the business? You build that into your life insurance contracts. So again, you take a snapshot of your life, you go to an insurance broker or somebody that you trust to talk about that. What is my life worth? And you move from there. And here's another important question that a lot of people don't know anything about is recognize how annuities provide financial security. What's an annuity? Annuity is an investment that will pay you back a certain amount a month for a certain amount of period of time. All right. It's like a whole life policy, but it's called an annuity policy. You invest or you pay premiums. Let's say you pay $100 a month on an annuity policy beginning at the age of 30. Okay. That's $1,200 a year you're paying into an insurance plan. At the same time, you're getting life insurance should you die at a certain amount of money. But at the same time, that $1,200 or $100 a month is being invested and you're getting that investment return. Capital gains, dividends, and then that builds up over time and keeps being reinvested as you put more money into that plan. Then when you turn 55 or 60, you now can draw back that money that you gained and earned over all that time and get income. You can get a check every month, like a retirement check every month, drawing on that annuity for the rest of your life. Pretty good deal. But again, it's a commitment of paying some money in when you don't really might not have that kind of money, but you get it back at a specific time, usually beginning at around age 55. You can get that. For example, I have an annuity. All right, I started putting that annuity in when I was about 24 years old. Now that's been earning income for the last 30 years, 30 plus years. And now when I decide to retire, I can cash out of that annuity and get a monthly check for the rest of my life. At the same time, should I die, I will get insurance, my life covered on that policy. But at the same time, my wife or beneficiaries will also earn income, get that check in lieu of me. So it's not a bad deal. It's expensive, but it's something to think about. It's called annuities. That's an important fact. How do we calculate how much insurance we need? Well, it depends on how long we're going to live. All right. It depends on how long we're going to live. And most American men and women live a lot longer these days. All right. A lot longer. So your insurance policy's got to be able to withstand how your value of your life changes over your life expectancy. All right. This is 2012 numbers. I just read just something recently in the Wall Street Journal that in 2019, the male length of life has dropped about 0.2% because, or 0.2 of a year, because of different health factors involving now in society, obesity, drinking, drugs, whatever, and that's lowered the expectancy. Still, it's quite high. But how long are you going to live? That's how you have to base your life insurance on, and how long you're going to draw on an investment. Is if you decide to retire when you're 55 and you're going to live to be 85, that's 30 years of income that you're going to need to live. Now, naturally, when you're older, your expenses are less, but at the same time, you got to live. So 30 years of income have to be provided. So you have to think about that when you're determining an annuity policy or a whole life policy, is how long you're going to live, but at the same time, how long you're going to work. All right, how long you're going to work. Most American men that I know are working now into their late 60s and 70. All right, because they need that income. They have more financial responsibilities, so they're working a little bit longer. Other friends of mine have retired at 55. They decided to cash out and the hell with it. And some of them are doing that. Some of them are like Professor Hasse. You cash out when you're in your 50s, but then you keep teaching or working, doing some other things that you've always wanted to do in your later years. So you have to think about this. You have to plan for that as part of your insurance plans. Again, there's two types of life insurance policies. All right, two types of life insurance companies. All right, there's stock life insurance, there's mutual life insurance. All right, the stock life insurance companies are owned by the shareholders. The mutual life insurance companies are like credit unions. They're owned by the policy holders. All right, they're owned by the policy holders, which is a different situation. A major American insurance company is called Mutual of Omaha. All right, that company is basically owned by the policyholders. When you buy an insurance policy, you're owning a stake in the company. Most insurance companies today that are large and very popular are owned by corporations. They're stockholders. They give you a payback over time. You're not an owner. So that's something to be aware of. The two different types of insurance companies, I'd say 75% of them now are mainly stockholder insurance companies, but there still are mutual life insurance companies where the policyholders own the companies, and usually the rates with mutual life insurance companies are a lot cheaper. So that's also an important factor to note. And here, this is taken out of your textbook, Exhibit 10-3, and you should pay attention to this, is the different types of life insurance policies, okay? And as Julio mentioned a few minutes earlier, you can buy specific options, contracts that make your insurance policy a little bit different from other people. Okay, you have what is called term life insurance. That is basically you just get the insurance and that's it. There's whole life, and then there's universal life. Okay, whole life and universal life are also investments, but universal life covers a lot more things, a lot more advantages to that policy, and you have a little bit more sometimes options of doing that. But most of us have use a determination of term and whole life, but also there is universal life coverage. And you should be aware of these types of coverage in a insurance plan. Finally, just a review of chapter 10 and what you should know about. What is insurance? Now, this is going to be sound kind of weird. How do you calculate, and we're going to talk more about this on Wednesday, but how do you calculate the estimation of how much insurance coverage you should get? There are estimation methods talked about in the textbook. One is called the DINK method, dual income. Dual income people. Like, for example, you and your wife or you and your partner both work. That will limit the amount of insurance you need. It's called the DINK method. Then there's non-working spouse method. If you only have a one-income family. Then if you have children, family need method. All these are methods talked about in your text. So you should be familiar with them. We have a question. You got that right, Julio. Julio says in a question, life insurance could be better named death insurance, and that's exactly right. That's exactly right. I think where the life insurance comes in on it instead of death insurance is with a lot of policies, you're investing over your life, not only in your risk of dying, but also you're getting an investment and getting a return out of that over the period of your life. So again, we were talking earlier about, and Julio asked, what type of way, how can you calculate how much insurance you need, and we'll talk about this on Wednesday. There's a variety of methods based on your financial situation. If you have a dual income household, if you have a non-working spouse or partner, if you have children, all that depends on. Another factor that's not included in this list, if you own a company, if you have a business, you're going to need a lot more life insurance policy, because if you die, what happens to that company? Not only who manages it, but what happens to all the obligations. So if any of you are going to be becoming entrepreneurs, that's an important facet. Difference of two types of insurance company we just talked about, stock and mutual funds, two different types of insurance, term and whole life. The universal life is a subset of the whole life policy. Most insurance policies have standard procedures, the standard coverage, but also you can buy for special situations. If you're in a high risk job, if you're in a high stress job, I know a lot of stockbrokers and investment managers who have a lot of life insurance. Reason for that is they get paid an awful lot, but also the reason for that is it's very expensive for them because they're in a highly stressful job. Stockbrokers and investment managers are kind of like NFL running backs. The average length of an NFL running back career is 3 years. So if I'm Todd Gurley, I'm going to drive as much money as I can, knowing that I'm going to end up my career in probably a year or two. Mr. Gurley, you get a lot of money early because you know your career will not last. 3 years for a NFL running back. But same thing holds true if you're an investment banker, if you work or you run a construction company, you're on a construction site, you have high risk jobs or careers, you have to take that in consideration to the type of insurance company coverage you get. And then you recognize the addition if you decide to get an annuity. Annuity is the amount of payments you can receive off an investment. That can be a fixed amount of money. You can guarantee I'm going to get $200 a month for the rest of my life when I start taking my annuity payments for my insurance investment. Or you can get a variable annuity where the monthly payments vary based on the income you receive from the investments. For example, in today's economy, I bet you a lot of people are saying, whew, I'm glad I have a fixed annuity investment in my portfolio. In other words, you get the same amount no matter if the market goes up or down, you're guaranteed that amount. A variable annuity, if the market starts lowering, that could affect the value of your investment return over time, and you might get a lower annuity instead of what you thought you'd get. So a lot of people use a combination of fixed and variable for their investments when you're talking about life insurance or investing in that. So those are the key parts of Chapter 10 that we should be concerned about. Those are the key parts of what we're going to take a look at on Wednesday when we take a look at a couple problems on page 341 that define how you calculate insurance and define how you take a look at how much insurance coverage you should get and what you can afford. So we're going to take a look at that on Wednesday along with our writing assignment and some samples of research areas for our topics that we choose for our writing assignment. Again, no graded work this week. I think your only graded work this week, and it's not for a grade, is if you could please fill out that course evaluation midterm report that they sent you all this week in an email. If you could do that for me, I'd appreciate it. Again, if you don't do it, and it has no effect on this course or your grade or anything like that. Matter of fact, I won't get the results back for about a month or so. But it does help the university understand what's going on and what's happening. Now, I have a side question for some of our students here. Number one, for our athletes in the audience, when is SKYAC going to be up on Instagram for the University of Laverne? What day is that going to happen? Does anybody know that for me? No? If you guys have been following Instagram, Caltech is today's Instagram SKYAC team, and they post a lot of videos and interviews with students. Yesterday it was Redlands. The day before that it was Whittier. So Caltech is today, and I was wondering when, if any of you guys are participating in that SKYAC University of the Day this week, and maybe you guys don't know about that. Sorry about that. Maybe I let the cat out of the bag, and you guys will find out about that later on. But whatever. Sorry, that was a dumb question by me. Let's move on. The second question I want to ask everybody is, today is April 13th, and today they tell me at the university the withdrawal period ends today. You can drop out of this class today and it will have no effect on your grade in the course. But let's say you drop out tomorrow, you're going to get a withdrawal failure grade, which will influence your grade point average. So just so everybody knows that, today is the withdrawal period ends for the spring semester. Now, that's all I know about how all this works. If any of you have specific questions or thinking about that regard, you should contact your academic advisor and make sure you understand that. So if some of you are thinking about dropping out of this class for whatever reason, hopefully not, but if you are, today the withdrawal period ends for the spring semester, and you should be aware of that and how that affects your grade going out for this semester. Most of you probably already know this, but I'm just refreshing your memory. Okay. Now I leave the course open for open mic time. Does anybody have any issues, questions, concerns? Look at that, my virtual background today. Isn't that pretty nifty? You know what that represents? That is the debt office of one of my heroes in investing. And matter of fact, he just died about 6 months ago. His name was T. Boone Pickens. I don't know if any of you ever heard of T. Boone Pickens, but T. Boone Pickens was from Oklahoma, and he was an oil man. But later on his life, he controlled the natural gas market in America. He basically controlled it. And so we're talking a few dollars there. And Mr. Pickens was not so much I liked him because of his politics or his investments. I liked him because the way he managed people. He was very honest. He was very forthcoming, and he always told people where they stood, good, bad, or ugly. And he was one of my heroes as a manager growing up, following how he did things. And this is his office at the time of his death in where is it? Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And so I thought that was only fitting as to be one of my virtual backgrounds this week. T. Boone Pickens' office. I wish I had an office like that. Okay, that's that. So does anybody have any questions or concerns here on Monday, April 13th, Business 345? Go. Nothing. All right. Riley Klein, I don't hear from you at all in any of these sessions, and you never show your lovely face. Riley Klein, just say hello to me. Give me some feedback, Mr. Klein. Is he really there? His name is there.
I'm here. Hello, how's it going?
Mr. Klein, how's everything with you?
It's going. Getting through it.
All right.
How's your Easter?
My Easter is fine. It was very good, very boring. I mean, naturally, sit at home all day. The only good thing about yesterday was I got to watch the Masters again from last year. That was kind of good to see, but nothing else, Riley. How you doing, Riley? You can answer this later off mic or off class, but I hope you're thinking more about what you're going to do next year. And if you have anything want to talk about that, let me know. Okay.
Yes, sir. Got it.
All right, Riley. Thanks. Here, let me pick on somebody else who I never hear from. Let's see. Sam Campbell. Sam, are you there? Samantha.
Yeah, I'm here.
How you doing, Sam?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Are you working out? Shooting a little hoops on the side?
Yeah, when I can.
You healthy?
Yeah.
Mentally?
Yeah.
All right, that's good. All right. Anything I can do for you?
No, not at the moment.
All right, where are you right now? Where are you in your home?
In my room.
In your room? So you don't want to show me you?
No.
Okay. That's all right, Sam. I hope you're doing okay. Good to hear from you.
Thanks, you too.
And last but not least, one of my all-time favorites, Carly Fink. Carly, what's going on?
Nothing much.
Nothing much. Are you still in your dark room?
No, I'm in my bedroom now. So.
Oh, okay. All right. The family's okay?
Yeah, they're doing good.
Anything I can do for you?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, Carly. Thank you. All right, that's it. Charlie, it's good to see you, buddy. Matter of fact, Charlie, why don't you hang on a little bit when we're all done here? I need to talk to you. Is that okay? So just hang on as everybody starts signing off. All right, folks, we'll see you on Wednesday. We're going to take a look at some problems and take a look at some problems that highlight the topics we talked about today. So thanks, everybody. See you Wednesday. Adios.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jake. Tyler, I can't see you. It's all dark. Maybe that's a good thing.
I'm sorry.
Julian, hope everything's well. Palm, hang in there, buddy. Send us a postcard from home.